we've been having this Brock Purdy conversation. I feel like if the 49ers are going to get better and win a Super Bowl in the coming year, one of the areas and one of the easy areas where they can improve, because you're not going to get a lot of outward improvement because you are so inflexible when it comes to your money. You don't have the ability to go out and sign a big star because you already have so much money tied up in all your stars. One of the easier ways in which I can see you improve is your young quarterback. Brock Purdy takes a step forward, and he helps elevate the rest of your roster, which is already really, really good. I don't think he necessarily did that during the postseason. While he had an awesome regular season and was rightly so an MVP finalist, he wasn't necessarily at his best during the postseason. So for me, if the Niners are going to be better this year, it's going to be because Brock Purdy gets better. 888-957-9570. That is the topic right now here on Willard and Dibs with Grandi in for Willard. What say you? Up next is Rashad in Oakland, who wants to talk about Brock Purdy and how he can progress this offseason. Rashad, what's up? You're on Willard and Dibs.
How you doing, fellas? Just want to say I definitely appreciate listening to you guys while I'm in this amazing San Franciscan traffic. So my thing was Super Bowl last year, right? Or this year, the Super Bowl, I feel like could have been won if, no doubt about Mahomes' arm strength and Brock Purdy's ability to throw. He's a legend, Mahomes, but he scrambled at least 3 times when the game was really on the line and got some crucial first downs in the overtime period, in which I think Brock Purdy had to try to make some uncomfortable throws instead of stepping up in the pocket. I think they run the same 40 times. So Mahomes isn't more fast, more athletic, I don't think, than Brock Purdy. And I feel like if he would have scrambled more, it would have been a different outturn.
Yeah, good call, Rashad. Yeah.
Thanks, Rashad.
Honestly, going into last season, I thought the opposite, because I remember the postseason, so a year and like a month ago, a year and 2 months ago now, that first postseason, the 2022 season, the 2023 postseason, when the 49ers were playing the Seahawks. And there was that crazy Brock Purdy play where he scrambled way to the left, and this was, the Niners were up big in the fourth quarter. The game was almost over, and they were driving to put the final nail in the Seahawks coffin. And Purdy scrambles way to the left. Nobody there. He turns back around, turns his back to the defense, and runs all the way back across the field the other way. Shimmy move makes a man miss. Pump fake makes another man miss. Steps back, and then throws a dart to Ayuk in the back corner of the end zone. It would have been the highlight of all highlights, except Ayuk dropped it.
Right.
But he took a giant hit on that play, Purdy did. And if I'm Kyle Shanahan watching that play, I'm thinking, oh, my God, Brock, let's be smart here. Like, tone it down.
Yeah.
Let's take the easy play. Let's not risk getting hurt. We've already had 2 quarterbacks get hurt. We've got bad luck when it comes to injuries. Just play smart. But I think Rashad makes a good point, because this postseason, it was Brock's legs that kept them in those games against the Packers and the Lions at times. And without that, they probably don't even go to the Super Bowl. So maybe I was underselling him, and maybe that is a way that he can also elevate his game.
Perhaps, but that's always a slippery slope when you get your quarterback out there into the open space, and, one bad move or one bad hit, and he could get hurt. And this is not, Josh Allen, a guy who seems to be indestructible the way he runs the football, and Jalen Hurts, the way he runs it, which a lot of it is tush-push, but he'll scramble, and Russell Wilson runs a lot, and then he gets down, and Mahomes doesn't ever seem to take that square-up hit. So
he's magical that way, isn't he?
He really is, the way he's able to run and, turn his shoulder and get down and get out of bounds and get to the sticks and extend the football. So part of that is, I think, an art. And Brock Purdy, you mentioned it. I think it was the Lions game where he had those 3 big scrambles for... He ended up rushing for almost 60 yards, I think, in that game.
There was like 2 of them for 21 yards, exactly.
Right. Huge drive sustainers. And so that's an area where I think that Brock Purdy can continue to get better, but I'm not saying that he can't improve and that he can't continue to be better, but I look at how he played in the regular season, and I think about what the ceiling would be for just how much better he can be with this offense, because he was pretty much remarkable last year.
Yeah, for the vast majority of that season.
Right. Now, can he be better in the postseason? Sure. And I don't know if that's something that you can learn in training camp, or maybe you can learn by watching the film and I'm sure he's gone over the film from the Super Bowl and the 2 postseason games and looked at the mistakes he made and realized, okay, this is something that I can do. And, he had Brandon Ayuk open a couple of times in the Super Bowl, even beyond the time when the pass protection broke down and Ayuk is breaking free and he didn't look his way. So maybe those are things that he can learn and improve on.
Yeah, but let's also be honest about the kind of quarterbacks that generally win Super Bowls. And this is not supposed to be a knock at Brock Purdy, but the last 10 Super Bowl winning quarterbacks, Mahomes, Stafford, Brady, Mahomes, Brady, Nick Foles, Brady, Peyton Manning, Brady. Those are the last 10 quarterbacks. A lot of Brady, a lot of Mahomes recently. 3 of the last 5 have been Patrick Mahomes. A Stafford mixed in there.
4 Bradys and 3 Mahomeses.
And then 1 Peyton Manning and 1 Nick Foles.
Right. I mean, my God. So you went back 10 and you had 7 that were Brady or Mahomes.
Yes. And my point is not that I
Wow.
don't think Brock Purdy is capable of being a Super Bowl winning quarterback, but generally the quarterbacks that win Super Bowls are otherworldly. And Purdy's only entering his 3rd year. The expectation shouldn't be that he has to be otherworldly. But I think it's also relatively logical to think entering your 3rd year with your first real offseason, he could take a step forward. And if he's marginally better, maybe that's the difference between winning and not winning this coming year.
Right. I think that's one way to look at it. And you can also go the other way and look at the quarterbacks who have lost Super Bowls over the last 10 years. And it's Purdy, it's Hurts, it's Burrow, it's Mahomes again, Garoppolo, Goff, Brady, Matty Ice, and Cam Newton, I think, lost to Denver.
Correct.
In 24-10.
That didn't dive on that fumble.
Right. That was an early one,
At
too.
Levi's.
Yeah, he kind of turned down that one. So in the last 10, you've got a mixed bag of quarterbacks. And, of that list, you've got Matt Ryan, who I guess will be a Hall of Famer because,
probably.
when we look at aggregate, and it's an aggregation sensation with
go.
him, he's probably going to get in based on his numbers. Cha-ching! And Jared Goff, probably not a Hall of Famer unless he wins a Super Bowl.
No,
I don't think that he's on that track. Joe Burrow, you would think that he could if he has a long enough career. He's a guy who could compile the numbers, but he'll need a Super Bowl. And then Jalen Hurts, it's too early to determine. So it's hard to just look at the list of Super Bowl winners and say, well, you got to be this caliber. And then guys who don't win it, it's okay to not be that caliber. It really is. It's kind of random when you get to that spot and you get that deep into a season. Brock Purdy was good enough to get his team there, and then they didn't win it. But you wouldn't look at Brock Purdy and say, well, man, if they would have had a quarterback who was a real baller, they definitely would have won it. I think that there were other things went against the Niners. Their mistakes were outside of Brock Purdy's purview as to why they lost that game.
Yeah, I mean, they win if their quarterback plays otherworldly. They also win if they get the quarterback play they got and other things happen better as well.
That's
There's multiple ways that you can win. But I think you would agree if you're going to get not otherworldly quarterback play, you are clearly making it more difficult on yourself, and you got to be perfect or nearly perfect in almost every other area to get it done.
It's circumstantial, but yes, especially when you're going up against Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, it feels like, and we've seen this Niner story before against Kansas City with Jimmy Garoppolo. That Super Bowl, when they lost to Kansas City the first time, they played pretty well until you got down to the final 6 minutes and you gave up 21 points. And I don't mean to bring this back because I could see you rolling your eyes and I could see you getting upset.
Now the dread's coming back from 4 years ago, not just from a month ago.
Yeah, seriously. February 2nd, 2020. 2/2/2020 is when that one came. And then a month later, we all were
stuck in our house. The world has changed so much since then.
It's hard to believe that was only 4 years ago. I heard you say that, and I was thinking, it can't be 4 years ago. And I'm looking at the list.
4 years, a month, and 2 weeks.
Right. Jeez, ballpark it. Why don't you? I mean, seriously, though, it's hard to believe that was just 4 years ago, considering what happened after that and what we all have gone through since then.
Yeah. 888-957-9570, talking about Brock Purdy and can he improve, or are there other ways for the 49ers to get better to increase their opportunity to win a Super Bowl coming up this coming year? Up next is Phil in Concord who wants to add to this Purdy conversation. Phil, what's up? You're on 95.7 The Game. How you doing today?
Hey, great. Thanks, Grady. It's a pleasure. Dibs, I've been listening to you since the days of G-Rad, and it's a bucket list item. Props to you, my friend.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's just for a minute. If we could talk about what a run it's been. Oh, my God, it's been a long run. Go ahead.
Hey, well, let me tell you about the time I ran into Lafayette Lever, but anyway, I digress.
Oh, the great fat Lever. While we're talking about, remember Michael Adams, too, that plucky little guard, 5'10" for the Nuggets? Oh, what a backcourt. Go ahead.
Oh, fantastic.
Oh, and Alex English on the weak side. And Kiki Vandeweghe. Oh, boy.
Absolutely. No, but hey, seriously though, I think Grady, you're spot on as far as the Super Bowl quarterback conversation. I mean, it's sad but true. You need an elite quarterback to overcome a mediocre team. I mean, Patrick Mahomes wins that game. Brock Purdy's I think what happens is everyone thinks he's a superstar or he's trash because of where he was drafted. I think he's a good quarterback that's gotten away with a lot of let's call it, oh no, Jimmy throws, and watching games, it's into the lap of the guy against Dallas, balls getting dropped against the Lions off the head of players, and getting rescued by Brandon Ayuk. The only team that didn't drop the oh no Jimmy throws were the Ravens, right? So I feel like he can't really go up. I feel like he is what he is. He's got a lot of good breaks. And they really need to either really kind of start improving and focusing on that running game or seriously think about a long-term solution at quarterback, which is why they wanted Trey Lance anyway. I think Garoppolo and Purdy are closer than Niners fans want to agree with. They want to bash Garoppolo, but Garoppolo never had McCaffrey. He never had a full Debo and Ayuk, and he still got the Niners just as far as Purdy. So anyway, that's my take. Garoppolo good, Purdy the same. Love you, Dibs. I digress.
All right, thanks, Phil.
Yeah, drive safe. Thank you, Phil.
Thanks. Really quickly, you're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM in HD1 San Francisco, always live on the free Odyssey app, Twitch and YouTube, powered by First NorCal Credit Union. Upgrade your savings dividend. Open a First NorCal first-class money market today. What do you think about that, Dibs?
Purdy greater than Garoppolo. And I know that Purdy...
Oh, you think he's greater, yeah.
Yeah, Purdy's better than Garoppolo. And I know Purdy had McCaffrey. Garoppolo also had a little bit of McCaffrey at the tail end of his tenure here. But when you just watch, forget the stats and the winning percentage and the success and all the rest of it, when you just watch the two guys play, Brock Purdy's got better pocket poise. He has an ability to make more throws than Jimmy Garoppolo. The offense expanded when Brock Purdy took over, so I don't think that it's a fair comparison to say that Brock Purdy is Jimmy G.
Yeah, I'm with you. And let's also say, I'm here talking about how I think it's on Brock Purdy to improve, at least marginally, to help this 49ers team. Because while, we could sit here and say they were good enough to win last year, they simply didn't. And a lot of their core key guys are getting older. Trent Williams, who knows how much longer he's going to play for, and if he's going to continue to be his all-pro self, I would bet on it because he's built different and he's a Hall of Famer. But I think it's on Brock Purdy to step up and to continue to improve. And it's not like it's necessarily like a do or die thing. I think it's what should happen and what generally happens with young quarterbacks when they get more experience and they have a normal offseason. But it's also, Dibs, not a thing where if it doesn't happen and say he performs as he did last year, say they get to the postseason and some of the same, I feel bad saying problems or issues because they still won games and he still played fine. But some of the shortcomings, some of the mistakes he made, say those still pop up once again next year. It's definitely not a situation for me where I'm saying, all right, now you got to find another solution at quarterback because this isn't it. It's not be better, Brock, or else you're out of here. It's be better, Brock, or else maybe this team doesn't win a Super Bowl, but that does not mean he still can't be your quarterback of the future.
I think he is the quarterback of the future.
Clearly,
no matter what. I think the only question is how much do you pay him based on how he plays next year. If he has another year next year like he did this year, I think that he's going to be in that $40 million a year category, maybe 40 plus. If he does regress a little bit and shows maybe a lack of pocket poise or a little bit of a digression or a regression, rather, in pocket poise. If the accuracy struggles a little bit, if the team struggles a little bit, maybe his price tag goes down. I don't think that there's anything, well, I shouldn't say that there's nothing he can do to prevent them from signing him long term, but I do think that the team is absolutely sold that he is a quarterback of the future.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Almost no matter what.
Yes, I'm with you. It would have to take it would take something so incredibly drastic and disappointing next year for that to change.
And it would have to be more than just his play. I think it would have to be his play combined with a lack of confidence, maybe with a dash of attitude. And all these things are laughably, for me, outlandish to even think about. Like Brock Purdy, he's going to come off the sideline and spike his helmet.
Yeah, bad attitude, Brock.
Exactly,
that's
right?
The last thing you would think of.
You can't imagine it. So even if Brock has a year where he throws for 4,100 and 22 touchdowns and 17 interceptions, and he looks shaky, and for whatever reason he has a bad year, I still think that they sign him. The price tag goes down, but I think that they're going to sign him no matter what.
Well, the price tag conversation is an interesting one, and we can get into that in a little bit as well. But we do have Chris in San Jose on the line, 888-957-9570. I know Chris wants to talk about Brock Purdy and Kyle Shanahan. Chris, now's your chance. How you doing?
What's going on, fellas? Happy Friday. Yeah, like a few of the other callers said, the traffic is absolutely brutal out here, so I figured I'd try to call in.
Man.
I wanted to talk relationship between Shanahan and Purdy, but I also kind of wanted to comment, I think a lot of people fall in love with arm strength and talent and all the, intangibles, but to me, when I think about the quarterback position, I think about pocket presence, mobility in the pocket, the ability to progress through reads, accuracy, and Brock has shown a propensity to be elite at all of those things. So, the caller saying that he's like Jimmy G and he has these oh-no throws, I feel like that guy might have a tenuous grasp on the game of football, especially pertaining to the quarterback position. Because if you want to use stats and analytics and all this, the Niners had a bottom 5 pass-protecting offensive line this past year and weren't very much better the year before. So while, a lot of these people on social media and everything, everyone wants to point to the oh-no throws. Oh, man, what was that? While neglecting the fact that he's under constant duress and not talking about the throws where he's scrambling left, right, hits somebody on a dime, or extends a play to find somebody downfield. This whole notion that the dink and dunk passer is totally whack, totally blown out of proportion. And if you talk about Mahomes, who everyone wants to crown as one of, if the not greatest quarterbacks of all time, then you also have to recognize when he's dinking and dunking, which is essentially what he did for 4 quarters in overtime in Super Bowl, and got the job done. You talk about the first drive in the Super Bowl, Purdy's driving the field, carving them with accurate, precise, quick throws, and then McCaffrey fumbles. You talk about the Niners offense in the first drive of all their regular season games, the chances are that they come away with not only points, but a touchdown is over 50%. So, everyone talking about Purdy not being good enough, blah, 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 that's a crock to me. I view this guy as, like you said, the future of the quarterback position. He's likely going to go out and do the exact thing he did this year. And hopefully, I love beefing up the defensive line because the game is won and lost in the trenches, but the offensive line is also part of the trenches, and they need to get that guy some help. One more quick thing. You're talking about the scrambling ability and how people would love to see that from Purdy more. I'm just wondering how strict in the conversations that him and Shanahan have as, move through the pocket, progress through your reads, don't scramble unless you absolutely have to, because he has the running ability. I just wonder if Shanahan is preaching not to do that. And in the words of Drew, I'm out. I'm out.
Nice.
Thanks, Chris. Good call. Yeah, I've honestly wondered those same things, how the conversations between Shanahan and Purdy have gone when in relation to the struggles, because it's not the struggles, the scrambles.
The scrambles, yeah.
Because it's pretty clear that Shanahan wants a quarterback who is going to look to throw first and then, if needed, run after, which is kind of what I was getting at with that postseason game against the Seahawks where Purdy scrambled and maybe did it a little bit too much and put himself in harm's way. But I think Shanahan is also smart enough to realize that, hey, if you can do something that's going to help us move the ball and win football games, we'll do it. We just got to do it smartly.
Yeah, and I think that Brock Purdy's shown a great ability to scramble when necessary. He oftentimes makes the right decision, and the last caller, I think, makes good points about Brock Purdy's pocket presence, his ability to see the field, make the right throw the majority of the times. I do think that in the playoffs this year, he got a little tight, which is understandable because those games are, one and done, and those are super, super competitive, tight ball games. But it's something where, as a second-year quarterback, he'll continue to grow from.